I'm not a good artist. I'm not a great artist.
This is the story of a young man at a crossroads who coped with the grave illness of the woman he loves, her painful process to recover, and then his personal battle that followed.
Panic attacks and the agoraphobia.
It is a tale of escaping, breaking out.
Face your fears and you can overcome them.
A story of frustration.
I was down to almost about 100 pounds.
And an account of a son, a father, and then new heartbreak.
To watch him pass away like that, and pretty much to watch him bleed to death.
He is Aaron Kizer, 29 years old, husband, father, businessman. Kizer was in his mid-20s, depressed, slowly fading into his home studio. His wife, Kitty, had survived a brain infection.
Without her, I don't really know where I would be at. Me and her have been together since I was 14.
The devastation of Kitty's illness came just weeks after the birth of their second child. It left her in a coma for 5 months.
It was the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to me.
After Kitty's recovery and the stress that came with it, Aaron Kizer hit bottom. He was diagnosed with agoraphobia, a condition that shrouds you with fear of open spaces, often a fear of leaving your own home.
There was probably some days I spent 48 hours. I go two, 3 days without sleeping, doing nothing but that, without sleeping or eating.
In the darkness of his small world, Aaron Kizer says he met his fear head on.
Once you face that fear and you push it as far as you possibly can, that there's nothing really there.
He painted, and painted, and painted, armed with 2 brushes and his own bare hands. The only sounds he heard in that room were the strokes of his brush and the music.
I seen what happened if you sit around and waste too much time. You know, that's 2 years of my life gone.
Paint covered his floor, his walls, his skin, his clothing. Then something strange happened. The images suddenly appeared, and in the fury of swiping, glancing back, and the staccato of those strokes, they did so in a matter of minutes.
You sit there and you're trying to figure this out, and then it hits you. He's painting it upside down.
It's actually just a tad bit easier than right side up. And the reason is you no longer look at them as faces anymore, they become shapes.
Aaron Kizer realized he was speed painting.
I think the longest I've ever went is 7 minutes. It's on one painting.
With can upon can of acrylic paint, he emerged.
It's a beautiful mess. I've got a can of Valspar here. I'd probably use this in my kitchen.
The reason I use Valspar or interior wall paint is strictly my dad had a construction company. I would use that paint on the walls, and I used to go in and paint little faces on the walls.
During this process, with him was his father.
We would get together every day, and he would sit down with me, and we would talk about painting. Not that it was anything about the painting, because the paintings didn't matter. We would sit down and talk about life, and I would sit there and paint while he sat there with me, and he would judge everything and tell me how much he hated something or how much something didn't look like somebody.
Then came this.
I didn't know how to accept that part of it, to watch him pass away like that, and pretty much to watch him bleed to death. I felt like I took it as he had control of that situation, and he said, "Aaron, I'm going to throw you the toughest thing I possibly can. Deal with this and you can deal with anything."
Nelson Kizer died the day before Aaron was scheduled to do his first speed painting before an audience. The money raised from that performance was to pay for Nelson Kizer's medical treatments and chemotherapy. Aaron did the show anyway.
It ended up helping pay for his funeral. They were getting the photographs together for his funeral, and I just saw a couple of them and decided I would paint one.
That'd be pretty tough, though.
No, yeah, it definitely was.
But it was the speed paintings that put Aaron Kizer's name and talent on the World Wide Web. The YouTube videos went viral. After repeated practicing on black paper, Kizer, took the stage with canvas before him. Among those works came this image of Steve Jobs to raise money in the fight against cancer.
At that time, I had never sold a painting before.
Oh, God.
Aaron and Kitty Kizer operate a graphic design business, and after the hardship of Kitty's illness, Aaron's battle, and the loss of Nelson Kizer, they are now giving back.
I don't know that I would ever consider myself to be a role model. I know it sounds kind of cliche-ish and corny, but if you have a dream, go for it.
With his signature Ray-Bans, his acrylic paints, Aaron Kizer is now out in the open, touching lives, inspiring, and never losing sight of how he got to this moment.